Unique game tired the dog out so much that he fell asleep in his owner's arms. The idea was brilliant. Fill a kiddie pool with empty bottles, show the dog one specific bottle, and toss it into the pile. The dog was overjoyed, searching for the chosen bottle among the others. Not all dogs enjoy such games with plastic though. Many might find it quite intimidating. It's incredible, but visitors at this establishment can meet a humanoid robot. This footage was filmed in a popular Chinese restaurant where a robotic waitress serves guests. Watch as she expertly pours orange juice into a cup. The most shocking part, she performs her duties flawlessly. Her realistic movements even make some wonder if she might be more than just a machine. However, her makeup gives her away, adding an artificial touch to her face. This man from Brazil was strolling the streets one evening when he spotted a friend with an unusual companion. Behind him patiently followed a bull, gently nudging its owner forward. The most amazing part? The bull appeared to help its owner maintain balance, as if understanding his condition. The scene became even more extraordinary when the man stopped to chat. The bull didn't halt, but adjusted its strength and pace to keep them both steady. When this girl wants a break from her daily routine, she heads straight to the chicken coop. That's where her feathery friends await her. Watch their heartwarming reunion as she sits in a cozy chair and calls her hens over. Within seconds, one fluffy beauty nestles into her lap, and soon others follow, eager for affection. But the most surprising moment comes when one brave hen settles on her legs, drapes a black wing over her hand, and peacefully falls asleep, just like a cat. Have you ever wondered how elephants relax? Of course, they love bathing and joyfully dive into the water or cool off by spraying themselves with their trunks. At first, this elephant seems hesitant to enter the river, as if the water is too cold. But everything changes when someone splashes it lightly. After that, it confidently steps into the depths. Did you know an elephant's trunk can hold up to 8 liters of water? It sounds incredible, but it's true. Finally, we see the moment everyone was waiting for, a majestic elephant enjoying a perfect bath. This remarkable bird knows exactly how to surprise her owner. Meet Emma, an inquisitive cockatoo. Recently, her owner captured a moment that will definitely make you smile. Watch as Emma notices a handheld massage gun being used and can't resist investigating. What happens next is unbelievable. Despite the device vibrating, Emma attempts to grab it with her beak. Cockatoos are among the most intelligent birds in the world. While they're not the best flyers, they excel at climbing trees. Amazingly, these fascinating creatures can live up to 80 years in the wild. These girls experienced a true test of bravery during their horseback ride. They were confidently following a trail in a local park when they encountered a young stallion on the other side of a fence. Imagine, the stallion was so thrilled to see other horses that he couldn't stay still. Naturally, he wanted to join their ride. The most shocking moment came when the stallion began running alongside the fence, trying to keep up with the riders. Unexpectedly, he attempted to jump over the fence to be with them. Alarmed, the girls waved their arms desperately to deter him. Fortunately, he decided to stay behind the barrier. A monkey unexpectedly wandered into a restaurant, and one of the diners didn't hesitate. He decided to offer it some food, but the most surprising part is yet to come. It's astonishing how quickly the monkey trusted its new acquaintance. Calm and seemingly at ease, the animal behaved as though it felt completely safe. Everything changed, however, when another guest walked by with food. Watch closely. The monkey tensed up but was reassured by the man. Have you ever seen anything like this? The video shows a woman climbing a ladder to enter her home. While the situation seems unusual, she has no other option. Astonishingly, such apartments are not uncommon on the streets of Vietnam, though narrow ones like this are rare. These residences are located in bustling areas, near bars, and even alongside train tracks. Unfortunately, the owner of this old home must navigate this route daily, highlighting the challenges of such living conditions. Thankfully, newer Vietnamese homes offer better accommodations. This man shared footage of his first winter fishing experience, which is sure to leave you amazed. He began by cutting a hole in the frozen lake and casting his line with bait. Next, he prepared for his unique tradition. Imagine this. During every winter fishing trip, he cooks his fresh catch. This time, something incredible happened. He caught his first fish almost immediately. The next catch came just as quickly. But that's not all. The fisherman built a fire, cleaned the fish, and placed it directly on the glowing embers for a perfect meal. This girl decided to treat her 13 fluffy pets to a special dessert. As the delightful aroma wafted from the kitchen, the bunnies gathered around, curious about what she was preparing. First, she mixed dried herbs with bananas by hand. Then, after shaping the mixture into neat portions, she placed them on a tray and into a dehydrator. Once perfectly dried, the homemade rabbit cookies were ready to serve. Judging by their excitement, it seems the bunnies thoroughly enjoyed their tasty treat. A cat froze by the window, transfixed by something happening outside. Intrigued, its owner looked out and was unprepared for what she saw. In her yard, a cow leisurely strolled around, as if inspecting the house for a new home. Meanwhile, another cow had relaxed on her flower bed, looking as comfortable as if it were on a personal couch. Instead of panicking, the owner approached. One cow noticed her, stepped closer, and waited expectantly. The owner extended her hand and gently petted it. In the dead of night, strange sounds suddenly broke the silence. The homeowner awoke, unsure of what was happening, and decided to investigate. Grabbing a flashlight, she headed to the next room, only to find her cat, Leonardo, staring at her before decisively moving toward the treadmill. Curious, she turned it on, and to her surprise, Leonardo began his nightly run. He ran with such focus and determination that it seemed like he was training for a marathon. Adjusting the speed to keep him challenged, the owner watched as her furry athlete protested the faster pace and eventually slid off in mock indignation. This man decided to delight one of the most intelligent animals on the planet, and the result was heartwarming. He spotted an elephant walking through the city and rushed to the market to buy bananas. The elephant eagerly accepted the gift, extending its trunk with joy. Did you know elephants flap their ears not only to cool down, but also as an expression of happiness? Did you know polar bears can build dens in the snow with multiple rooms and even ventilation holes? On this video, a polar bear from a zoo helps keepers in an unusual way. Swimming in his pool, the bear spotted items left by staff and began removing them himself. Visitors and zookeepers were amazed by his initiative, showing just how resourceful these majestic animals can be. Have you ever wondered about the creatures lurking in the depths of the ocean? This diver encountered an unforgettable adventure and a rare fish. To her surprise, the fish needed help and readily accepted it. Struggling to eat an oyster, the fish waited patiently as the diver broke it into smaller pieces. This extraordinary encounter highlights the incredible and unique relationships in marine life. When these guys from India set out to find palm seeds, they had no idea how risky their journey would become. That's right, they were after a special nut known for its relaxing and mood-lifting properties. It seemed like they were well prepared for their trip into the wild. However, what awaited them was nothing short of shocking. After collecting some fruits, they came across a towering palm tree, and that's when the real adventure began. Even with the necessary equipment, reaching the top was far more challenging than expected. In the end, the guys decided to climb the tree the traditional way, as there was no other option. Believe it or not, these brave souls scaled the trunk using a rope, with no machinery or additional support. This buffalo gave its owner quite a scare. While being led home, the buffalo suddenly veered off the road and headed toward a nearby river. At first, it seemed like it just wanted a drink, but no, it slowly waded into the water and fully submerged itself. Normally, even during swims, its nose would remain visible above the water, but this time it didn't resurface for a long while. Concerned, the owner approached the river, leash still in hand, to get a closer look. Suddenly, the buffalo popped up right next to him, simply enjoying a refreshing dip. A Korean blogger had a brilliant idea that captured the attention of many. One day, he decided to surprise his pet with a special handmade gift. Although the process took considerable time, the result was incredible. Starting with a piece of fabric printed with a cabbage design, he created something extraordinary, a custom walking costume for his pet. But there's more. The pet has an entire collection of creative outfits for various occasions. Would you believe me if I told you this car isn't driven by a person? In fact, this tiny toy taxi doesn't even have a steering wheel, just 3 buttons for controlling directions. But what's truly shocking is that the owner, after buying this miniature vehicle, decided to let his pet rat take the wheel. That's not all. He even added obstacles to test how quickly the little driver could navigate. Although the rat hesitated at first, It soon began confidently pressing the buttons. Amazingly, after covering a significant distance, the rat managed to steer itself all the way back to its cardboard house on wheels, proving that even small creatures can rise to big challenges. When this woman noticed the sand moving, she had no idea she was about to find a new friend. Imagine this. While fishing, she saw bubbles appearing on the shoreline. Curiosity got the better of her, so she started digging. Eventually, she uncovered a turtle hiding beneath the surface, likely sheltering from predators. Amazed, she rinsed the turtle with water and decided to bring it home. But what happened next will surprise you. It turns out she already has a large turtle living in her natural pond. Now, the new turtle keeps the other one company. Every day, the woman visits her two pets to feed them and spend time with her unexpected companions. When an elephant stepped into the water, people couldn't resist joining in. These friends jumped into the pool with the giant animal, but what happened next exceeded all expectations. In a surprising move, the elephant lifted one of the men above its head with its trunk. Take a look at this incredible moment. It seemed like the elephant was planning to toss the tourist to the other side of the water, but something went wrong. Instead, the man ended up on the giant's head. Despite the unexpected situation, the elephant tried its best to balance and support him. An adult monkey demonstrated how to teach the younger generation. Imagine this. Tourists stopped to watch a group of playful primates when the scene suddenly took an unexpected turn. A curious young monkey became fascinated with what people were carrying in their backpacks. Despite the tourists watching, the little one reached out to grab something, but the adult monkey quickly intervened, catching the youngster's paw to stop any mischief. This scene was truly remarkable. However, the young monkey wasn't ready to give up and made another attempt to grab the items, only for its efforts to be thwarted again. No matter how clever it was, the adult monkey stayed one step ahead. The zookeepers decided to surprise the animals by installing a unique swing. The first visitor to the new attraction was a panda, who approached it slowly and cautiously. Initially, the panda stood off to the side, appearing to evaluate whether the swing was worth its attention. It walked a few circles around the swing, inspecting it from every angle. The swing, a simple wheel attached to chains, seemed like the perfect new toy. However, the final decision was up to the panda. Finally, the panda decided to climb on, but despite a few clumsy attempts, couldn't quite manage it. When these people heard strange noises, they couldn't figure out where they were coming from. Eventually, the source of the sound left them stunned. It was coming from a vase. Due to its depth, it was hard to see what was inside. Something seemed to be stuck and didn't want to come out. Despite tapping on the vase, nothing worked. Finally, they tilted it gently to take a closer look. Suddenly, a small bird peeked out from the darkness. It turned out to be their pet parrot. Even after spotting its owners, the bird refused to leave its cozy spot, forcing them to carefully retrieve their feathery friend. This boar caused quite a stir on a beach in China. Under the watchful eyes of beachgoers, it approached a woman's belongings. Finding nothing interesting, it grabbed her bag and dashed into the forest. Without hesitation, the woman chased after the wild animal, pleading for it to stop. Contrary to expectations, the boar, seemingly experienced in such escapades, only picked up speed. The chase, which she filmed on her phone, lasted much longer than anyone would have imagined, as all her belongings were in the stolen bag. You'll never guess what these flowers are made of. At first glance, it seems unbelievable, but the video shows students crafting flower figures from an unusual material. The main component, chili peppers, but that's not all. Amazingly, they used regular onions to create the base of the flowers, transforming them into decorative bulbs. Finally, the grand reveal showcases a beautifully crafted hyacinth, leaving viewers in awe. Incredibly, cars on this road kept stopping one after another to feed the hungry animals. Imagine this. A group of hippos settled near a wooden barrier in the middle of a road, crossing a small waterway. Drivers offered whatever food they had, but the hippos turned out to be picky eaters, only accepting fruits and vegetables. Any other offerings were met with disdain as they snapped their enormous jaws shut, proving they were true gourmands. This bear became a sensation, drawing a huge crowd. Even the onlookers couldn't stop it from enjoying a container of candies. It all started when the bear wandered into a candy shop, prompting employees to call the police. Despite efforts to scare it away, some even throwing sweets, the bear remained calm, yet determined. Once the first container was emptied, it simply moved on to the next, unfazed by the commotion. The driver of this car was so shocked that he didn't realize what had just happened at first. Imagine this. All he saw was a dark blur rapidly approaching the vehicle. Moments later, a speeding turtle crashed straight through the windshield, lodging halfway inside. The impact was so powerful, it shattered the glass. Despite the chaos, the driver quickly called for help. When authorities arrived, they safely freed the turtle from the car. This blogger stumbled upon a treasure for any fishing enthusiast. In the video, he proudly displays his find, a variety of fishing lures discovered in the river, each appearing as if it came straight from the store. However, their pristine condition and neat arrangement raised doubts about the video's authenticity. As it turns out, those suspicions were true, and the blogger admitted the video was meant to be humorous. Believe it or not, these cats only needed 1 minute to execute their clever plan. The moment the vendor turned away, these unexpected furry customers moved in on the goods. Initially, the pair observed from a distance, waiting for the perfect moment. When the coast was clear, the ginger cat went for the fish, while its partner patiently stood guard. Despite the vendor's return, the cats quickly escaped, leaving no trace behind. A group of people went fishing, unaware of the unexpected turn the trip would take. One fisherman decided to show off his skills by casting a massive net into the water. Shortly after, he began pulling it up with great effort. To everyone's amazement, the net was overflowing with fish. But that wasn't the end. The catch was so heavy, it knocked the fisherman off his feet, making for an unforgettable moment. Tourists set out on an extreme adventure, choosing an unusual route. Everything seemed fine until their vehicle got stuck in the mud. While it appeared hopeless, the encouragement of onlookers spurred them on. Despite their best efforts, every attempt to free the vehicle only made the situation worse. In the end, they had no choice but to abandon the adventure and return to solid ground. This girl from China shocked everyone with her mini electric vehicle, which she transformed into a mobile home. At first glance, this compact scooter car seems too small, but just look inside. The video shows how she upgraded the scooter to have a comfortable space for dining during her breaks. And that's not all. Impressively, this vehicle has almost everything needed for relaxation, including enough room to lie down comfortably despite the limited space. These tourists were walking through the forest when they suddenly heard eerie sounds resembling howling. Frightened, they quickly climbed a tree, leaving their belongings below. Amazingly, from their vantage point, they spotted an unknown creature approaching one of their bags. And that's not the end of the story. While the creature rummaged through the belongings, the tourists stayed silent, trying not to attract attention. Eventually, the animal explored the area as if searching for the owner of the bag before slowly moving away. When this girl climbed onto an ostrich, it turned into an impromptu race. Did you know these two-legged runners can reach speeds of up to 70 kilometers per hour? Thankfully, the rider held on tightly as the ostrich sprinted. Imagine this. The bird's caretaker and a startled videographer chased after them in a desperate attempt to save her. Their efforts ended when the ostrich veered off the path, leaving the girl with no choice but to dismount while on the move. Fortunately, she landed safely in soft grass. Amazingly, this vibrant butterfly lived its entire life indoors. Imagine, it emerged as a caterpillar too early during cold weather that left no chance of survival in the wild. As a result, a butterfly enthusiast took care of 11 caterpillars, guiding them through each stage of their development. However, this butterfly became special and joined her unique collection for a particular reason. As it turns out, this craftswoman always keeps the first specimen of everything she raises and breeds. This woman shared her unusual hobby, leaving everyone amazed. Incredibly, after taking off her shoes, she decided to ride a water bike. Imagine, she skillfully jumped onto the vehicle and started pedaling right away. What happens next will shock you. But first, did you know that in China, this water sport is highly popular among the elderly? It's believed to be ideal for supporting joint and bone health. After a short but lively ride, the woman ended her workout with a refreshing dive into the cool water. Surprisingly, many people visit this attraction not to ride it, but to watch it in action. The video shows extreme roller coasters in Spain. Imagine, they stand 367 feet tall and reach speeds of 112 miles per hour. This thrill isn't for everyone. However, visitors have found another way to get an adrenaline rush. Strangely, Thankfully, there are bleachers in the park, often packed with spectators who eagerly wait for the coaster's dramatic drops. For many, watching the ride is as thrilling as experiencing it firsthand. This man decided to take a stroll in the park, bringing nuts for squirrels. Little did he know that other wildlife residents would join him. Watch as small birds bravely perch on his lap, while others line up patiently behind him. Incredibly, despite the crowd of onlookers gathering around, a squirrel made its way to the man, gently touched his hand, and claimed its long-awaited nut. These craftsmen accomplished what initially seemed impossible. Just look! They decided to embed light transmitting rods into a concrete base. Somehow, this idea will impress everyone instantly. But the story gets even better. No one expected that after polishing and finishing, the result would surpass all expectations. Amazingly, the footage reveals not just a concrete structure, but a unique pool that literally glows from within. A motorcyclist stopped to let a sheep cross the road, but he didn't expect what happened next. The sheep returned to where it started. Curious, the rider stayed to watch. Unbelievably, the sheep suddenly dashed forward, gaining speed. Then something incredible happened. It leapt gracefully onto a high fence. What seemed like a random act was apparently routine for this agile animal. This kangaroo challenged a park worker, but its plan ended unexpectedly. Luckily, the woman was experienced with animals and prepared for surprises. Despite the struggle, she skillfully avoided its attacks and maintained control until the kangaroo gave up. In a desperate attempt to escape, the kangaroo overturned some equipment and ultimately ended up on the ground itself. This woman heard faint squeaking sounds coming from a pile of branches and decided to investigate. Incredibly, she discovered a litter of piglets beneath the branches. What's more, under the leaves, their mother was feeding them. Unable to leave the animals in such conditions, the woman made their home more comfortable. She built a wooden shelter covered with leaves and later added a fence to keep the little piglets safe. This man deliberately breaks bottles to turn them into works of art. At first glance, it seems like just glass, but in the hands of a skilled craftsman, it becomes a keepsake for special occasions. When he receives a bottle with a meaningful backstory, he shatters it into countless pieces. Each shard is carefully arranged in a frame, then encased in clear resin to hold them together. While it may look simple, creating such art requires several attempts. Never behave this way with monkeys. They don't like it. A tourist tried to pet a primate, and at first, it didn't seem to mind. However, when the monkey turned away, the man placed a heavy chain on it. Despite this, he continued petting the monkey and even leaned in as if to kiss it. While the monkey initially ignored him, it didn't stay indifferent for long. After tolerating the tourist's antics, the monkey finally made its feelings clear. No one suspected what this wall was hiding. Astonishingly, during a renovation, the homeowner discovered a wooden beam concealed behind old plaster. Hard to believe, but this wall had always been hidden by a bed, leaving the surprise undiscovered for years. And there's more. As she carefully uncovered the wall, she was shocked by what she found: a fireplace. Excited by the discovery, she began cleaning the stonework to prepare it for heating her home. A treasure hunter frequently visits this river, and here's why. Unbelievably, beneath the ordinary sand lies real wealth. The video shows the man scooping up sandy soil with small stones, placing it in a sieve, and meticulously washing it. At first, it seems unremarkable, but soon tiny gold flakes appear among the sand. Even though this time the hole was small, the hunter wasn't disappointed. Instead, he added the gold to his collection from previous weeks. A rider brought her horse, a plush toy, which turned into quite a shock for the animal. Riding into the stable on the stuffed horse, she initially piqued the stallion's curiosity, but soon he seemed indignant and started chasing her. Despite the drama, she brought the plush pony closer for the horse to inspect. Amazingly, his reaction exceeded expectations. The toy quickly became his favorite, and now he carries it everywhere. This woman showcases a public restroom that will change how you see ordinary spaces. Check this out. In Rome, they installed a cube-shaped toilet with unusual walls. From the outside, it appears entirely mirrored. However, once inside, visitors are treated to an astonishing view of their surroundings while remaining invisible to outsiders. The true wow factor: the artist who designed it intended to remind people not to waste a single moment of life. This girl had no idea what surprise her family had prepared. Arriving at her home, they helped her onto a platform attached to a tractor. The journey wasn't easy, but what she saw later surpassed all expectations. When the tractor stopped by a lake, she leaned over the water and was stunned by the breathtaking scenery. Her father had arranged the trip so she could admire the flowers and observe the frogs. Have you ever wondered how unpredictable a traditional bullfight can be? This video shows a raging bull suddenly charging towards the spectators. Attempting to leap over the fence, the animal caused quite a stir. While the crowd heightened the tension with their reactions, the situation escalated as the bull gathered strength and ultimately cleared the barrier, shocking everyone present. This daring stunt will blow your mind. A petite woman performs a jaw-dropping trick that leaves the crowd in awe. As two men lift a heavy barrel, it becomes clear just how challenging the task is. Soon, the barrel is placed on her legs. Not only does she support it, but she also spins it to reveal a man inside. To everyone's amazement, he addresses the audience while still balanced on her legs. This man tamed a kestrel, and now the bird accompanies him on trips. One day, he decided to release it among wild birds for fun. What happened next was extraordinary. The small falcon targeted another bird, grabbing its beak tightly. The man rushed to separate them, but even then, the kestrel refused to loosen its grip for a long time. While crossing a bridge, this driver noticed an oncoming car but didn't realize there wasn't enough room for both vehicles. Instead of panicking, he calculated his moves and performed an incredible maneuver. Watch as one of his car's wheels hovers over the water channel. Despite the tension, he skillfully created enough space for the other car to pass safely, then seamlessly returned to the road. This girl received a special order unlike anything she had done before. She was tasked with creating a unique clay pot for plants. Inspired, the artist decided to make something unusual, a horned vase. But that was only the beginning. After molding the pot, she made small holes and inserted pre-made horns. The creative process didn't stop there. The piece still required sanding and painting to reach completion. This runner was on the home stretch when a group of people tried to stop him. With just a few steps to victory, everything went awry. Security intervened, citing that he had exceeded the 5-hour race limit by just 1 minute. Despite the setback, the runner pushed forward while spectators cheered him on. In the end, their support changed the story's outcome, and he was allowed to cross the finish line. This flight attendant began hugging passengers as they boarded the plane, overwhelmed with emotion. It was a special day. Her dream came true as her family flew with her for the first time. Fellow crew members joined in to welcome her family. While she carried out her duties, her proud relatives captured precious memories with photos. This man wanted to fly over water like Superman, but things didn't go as planned. Barely stepping onto the platform, he and his instructor quickly plunged into the water. The water jet wasn't powerful enough for liftoff. Instead, they bobbed up and down like dolphins. Eventually, they managed to hover briefly above the surface, though not for long. This man arrived at a local cafe for breakfast with an unusual companion, a horse. Approaching the counter, the bartender asked if he wanted his usual order. Sharing his breakfast with the horse, the animal even tasted bacon straight from the man's glass. To top it off, the horse wore a cowboy hat that suited it perfectly. At this wedding, the bride replaced the traditional bouquet with something entirely different. Instead of flowers, a rugby ball was thrown to unmarried guests. The tradition's meaning remained the same. The one who caught it would be next to marry. Afterward, the groom also tossed a ball to his friends. The game grew so intense that the wedding ceremony turned into a full-blown match. Have you ever thought about how dangerous mud can be? Of course, no one in this group expected their trip to turn into an unforgettable adventure. Just look, the muddy road swallowed the car, and then one of the travelers too. In the end, the friends rushed to help, turning it into a full-blown rescue operation. But that's not the end of the story. Despite all their efforts, another person ended up stuck in the mud and needed rescuing as well. Agree, this is an experience they'll never forget. This young entrepreneur came up with a plan that shocked all the passers-by. Spotting people trying to cross an empty canal, he realized it was the perfect opportunity to make money. Just look. Without wasting time, he climbed into the pit with a wooden plank that served as a makeshift bridge. However, not everyone appreciated his idea, as he charged a fee for crossing. While some onlookers formed a disgruntled group, others attempted to cross the obstacle on their own. In the end, most people simply stood by, refusing to pay. Still, some thought his plan was brilliant. It's incredible what this man managed to do with an ordinary pumpkin. Armed with all the necessary tools, he headed to the woods to get to work. First, he hollowed out the pumpkin, filled it with sugar and lemon slices, and wrapped it in foil. It was cooked over a roaring grill, which took some time. In just 15 minutes, the results exceeded expectations, and the aromatic dessert was ready to enjoy. This rider trusts her horse so much that she taught him a fascinating trick. One day, as a joke, she sat on his head, and the horse held her for several seconds before gently lowering her to the ground. It might might seem uncomfortable for the animal, but it wasn't. The horse enjoyed the playful interaction and now happily lifts anyone brave enough to stand before him. When the weather suddenly changed, a woman stepped outside to retrieve a box of groceries. Despite the strong wind, she braved it to enter a tent. But then, something entirely unexpected happened. Chairs from a nearby cafe began flying down the street, carried by the gusts. Another woman stepped in to help, only to see a man clinging desperately to a massive umbrella as it chased the chairs. A wild boar suddenly appeared on city streets, terrifying pedestrians. Although police escorted this unusual road user, drivers couldn't resist capturing the spectacle on video. The animal caused a traffic jam but seemed unfazed. However, the situation escalated when the boar tried to break into a residential building. Failing to get through the door, it changed course and ran off in another direction. When a rescuer responded to a call, he found a raccoon stuck in a trash can. After freeing the poor animal, it seemed ready to flee, but the story didn't end there. Amazingly, the raccoon returned and ran toward its savior. Initially intending to temporarily shelter the animal, the man ended up with a new family member. Over time, the raccoon adjusted quickly to its new home. You've never seen anything like this. Every Saturday, a gym transforms warm-ups into a unique activity. Trainers lay out barbell plates in rows to create a pathway, and participants hop over them in sync. While it looks simple, achieving such precision took several failed attempts. Despite the challenges, the energy and camaraderie made the experience unforgettable. This man had no idea that his stunt would be caught on a street camera. While cleaning the street, he noticed a bag stuck in a large puddle. Naturally, he tried to retrieve it with his tools, but his attempts were unsuccessful. Then, he resorted to a clever trick. Standing on his hands, he managed to reach the bag. Grabbing it, he easily got out of the water. This unexpected moment didn't go unnoticed as a passerby stopped to watch the whole scene. These guys decided to bake car tools. But why? First, they placed wrenches on a baking sheet and put them in the oven. Shockingly, after just 5 minutes, the tools were heated enough. Then came the exciting part, pressing the hot tools into a foam insert. After removing the tools and cooling them in water, the foam perfectly molded to hold the tools securely. When the traffic light turned red, the truck driver stopped but quickly realized he wasn't waiting alone. Indeed, next to his vehicle stood a woman who also seemed to be waiting for the signal. However, as soon as the light turned green, she suddenly ran forward, straight to the car in front. The truck driver stayed put, filming the entire scene. He found the situation so hilarious that he didn't even bother to honk. An employee at this stall became a brief hero. It all started with a strange squeaking sound, which she traced to a rat. Seeing the large rodent, she quickly pinned it with her foot to prevent its escape. However, she wasn't prepared for what happened next. Luckily, a customer walked in and stepped in to help. After handing off the rat, the employee had to take a moment to calm her nerves with some tea. This man visits the park so often that the local squirrels now consider him one of their own. Amazingly, he's always greeted by the same furry friend, knowing he'll have treats for them. However, this time, things didn't go as planned. Lying under a tree, the squirrel climbed onto him and got comfortable, but the moment she noticed food in his hands, she eagerly demanded a snack, her bushy tail brushing across his face. Never trust a valuable item to an ostrich. It might surprise you. While passing by a farm, a group of tourists stopped to get a closer look at a giant bird. In a flash, the ostrich snatched a car key from one tourist's hand, leaving everyone shocked. Despite attempts to retrieve it, the bird stubbornly held on and eventually swallowed it. The situation escalated when the ostrich approached the car, but the tourists managed to close the windows just in time and quickly drove off. This man raised a lit torch toward the ceiling, and what happened next was unexpected. The footage shows firefighters testing a fire safety system. Suddenly, the sprinkler system activated, drenching the room. As water patterns formed on the ceiling, the team quickly evacuated, except for 2 individuals left behind, the cameraman and the man holding the torch. They scrambled to address the situation and restore safety. It's hard to believe, but these guys decided to glide on ice using something other than skates. Instead, they used bamboo sticks and skillfully slid forward. Everything seemed fine until one of them pulled ahead significantly. Upon reaching the endpoint, he leaped off smoothly, but his friend wasn't as lucky. A sharp turn caused a minor tumble, adding humor to their icy adventure. Did you know you can't talk during a skydive, but you can eat? Incredibly, this thrill-seeker decided to enjoy a meal mid-freefall, taking a tray of noodles along. Despite the high-speed winds and pieces of food sticking to his face, he not only enjoyed his snack, but also managed to pose for the camera like a pro. It seems sky-high dining might just become a new trend. These talented women gathered countless cardboard boxes, but not for recycling. Instead, they meticulously cleaned and dried each one. Astonishingly, they began wearing the boxes before cutting and gluing them into creative shapes. After covering them with colorful fabric, they transformed the boxes into costumes resembling Roblox characters. The final touch? Strutting around town in their new, vibrant outfits. This man turned a snowplow into something extraordinary. When he debuted his modified equipment, onlookers had no idea what it was for. Without explanation, he showcased its capabilities. Adjusting the height, he converted the snowplow into a trailer pusher capable of hauling heavy loads. The most impressive part? The entire weight was balanced on just one small wheel. Imagine this, a pet crayfish with a job it performs brilliantly. Its owner often spends time in his workshop, where this aquatic companion becomes an invaluable helper. Incredibly, the footage shows an amazing moment. When the man extends the crayfish toward a stuck tool, it retrieves it with ease. Their teamwork is truly impressive. Eventually, the video's hero returns to its aquarium, which surprisingly is located right in the workshop. This flock of sheep was let into an apple orchard, and the owners are not worried about the harvest at all. Unsurprisingly, each sheep is wearing a muzzle. It looks unusual, doesn't it? But there's more. Amazingly, this protective gear allows the sheep to graze on grass and fallen apples while keeping them from damaging the trees by eating the leaves, shoots, or fruit. Thanks to this clever idea, the animals roam freely in the orchard without causing harm. A group of friends set out on an extreme motorcycle adventure, unaware of what awaited them. During a descent, they encountered a man carefully backing his bike downhill to avoid a collision. It seemed under control until another rider appeared. Despite his efforts, he couldn't stop in time and ended up in the bushes. But that was just the beginning. Behind him came yet another motorcyclist who also lost control and landed next to his friend. This couple decided to participate in a quirky and hilarious contest that had everyone laughing. The rules required participants to catch animals in a small area while blindfolded. The bigger the catch, the bigger the prize. For a while, they kept grabbing each other instead of animals. In the end, the girl managed to catch a duck, which led to a near scuffle with her competitor. Shocking footage shows an excavator tearing down tents amid complete chaos. After a large festival, attendees left behind numerous tents and a massive amount of trash. Someone had to tackle the monumental cleanup. The excavator driver wasted no time, sweeping everything in its path. You won't believe how much work awaited him. At least, the task was made easier with some upbeat music. It's incredible, but there might be hidden treasure in your garden. That's exactly what happened to this girl and her father, who uncovered many ancient items. Amazingly, under a flower bed, they started digging and found numerous glass bottles, ceramic jars, a lock, and even parts of a bag. However, the most exciting part was yet to come. Continuing their excavation, they discovered a large slab covering a brick structure. At first glance, they thought it was a well, but as it turned out, it wasn't. Have you ever seen a Christmas tree on wheels? The owner of this car joined a trendy holiday tradition that never gets old. He decorated his car with glowing light strips, attaching an incredible 3,000 bulbs. The effort was worth it, as this car, shining like a mobile Christmas tree, is truly a sight to behold. Never try this, or you might risk your head. This man wanted to take a memorable photo and stuck his head between the branches of a tree for a unique pose. However, he soon realized he was stuck. The more he tried to free himself, the worse it got. And the funniest part? He tried to stay unnoticed, but that didn't work out either. Do you think he managed to escape this wooden trap? You'd never guess what this woman does. Recently, she received an unusual order and quickly got to work. The craftswoman began by using special foam as the base for her project. She then tied a prepared sphere with a ribbon. Here comes the most interesting part. All that remained was to decorate it with flowers. Although the technique might seem simple, it wasn't easy, as she had to insert 35 red roses into the foam without damaging them. The result was a unique and unforgettable bouquet that's impossible to water. This breathtaking structure graced the seaside in in Brazil. The video's creator captured the making of a Christmas tree visible from their window. Interestingly, the process began with stringing lights onto the tree, but the most fascinating moment was yet to come. Using an excavator, a massive star was placed on top. Look closely. The project took several days, but it wasn't the tree that impressed everyone the most. As the final touches were being made, people gathered not to see the tree, but to catch a glimpse of the legendary Coca-Cola holiday trucks. This party ended in a way no one expected. Amazingly, in the middle of the celebration, waiters decided to surprise guests with a signature fire show. They set 4 dishes ablaze and proudly held them aloft. But suddenly, the fire suppression system activated and water drenched not only the staff, but also the guests. However, it seems the party host enjoyed the unexpected finale, laughing so hard it was almost impossible to stop him. This man came up with an interesting use for empty bottles. First, he prepared cement and filled each bottle with it. Once the material hardened, he removed the plastic, and that was just the beginning. Surprisingly, he then filled a bowl with sand and placed the prepared molds upside down in it. Next, he poured cement over the top layer. Once everything hardened, he revealed the result by removing the sand mold completely. The outcome? A truly unique flower pot. It's fantastic that this contest was held among regular students. The video shows them creating arrangements using fresh flowers and leaves, securing them with thin twine. It might seem simple, but it was far from easy. Each participant had undergone professional training to craft a special decoration. In the end, judges among the audience selected the best work. The result, an incredibly stunning garland. When this brave man saw a deer struggling on an icy lake, he didn't hesitate to jump in and help, unaware of what was about to unfold. Despite his efforts, the rescue operation was more challenging than it seemed. Undeterred, he managed to grab the deer. But that was only the beginning. Imagine this. As they neared the snowy shore, the frightened deer froze, appearing lifeless. The man even had to lift its head from the snow. Yet, as soon as people moved away, the deer sprang to life and darted off. A group of friends was driving along when they spotted something intriguing on the roadside. Deciding to turn back for a closer look, they were stunned to find a Christmas tree. Seeing it as a sign from above, they loaded the tree into their car and headed home. However, they didn't immediately notice a tag reading Jeff attached to it. While it seemed like a lost tree on the highway, some believe it might have been left by a kind soul to spread holiday cheer. Eventually, the tree found a home, though getting it in through the balcony was a bit of a struggle. At first glance, slingshot shooting might seem like a basic pastime, but take a look at this. The girl starts with easy targets at short and medium distances, but each shot becomes more challenging. Watch as she skillfully knocks leaves off a branch with ease. But the most impressive feat is yet to come. Hitting small coins attached to light bulbs without breaking the glass left everyone speechless. It's nothing short of amazing. These girls bought popular blind boxes, not knowing what surprises awaited them inside. Both had been dreaming of figures from the Sunny Angel Gifts of Love collection. They seemed ready for anything, but what happened next exceeded all expectations. Moreover, many viewers watched as they unboxed their items. When the boxes were opened, the girls couldn't contain their emotions. They were lucky enough to get the figures they had wished for. If you're unsure how to spend your winter, here's an idea. In this incredible video, a guy takes some snow with a card, compresses it, and attaches it to a thin twig. Step by step, he builds a snow sculpture. But why doesn't he just roll the snow to layer it? The most amazing part is yet to come. Despite the cold, he adds layers of snow with bare hands until it starts to resemble rose petals. Suddenly, it all makes sense. The snow rose is complete. When a fire broke out in this house, the neighbors did something truly extraordinary. While firefighters were on their way, a brave man decided to put out the flames himself. Risking his life, he climbed to the burning home's window, smashed the glass with a fire extinguisher, and managed to control the blaze before the fire crew arrived. What a calm and heroic act. Tic-tac-toe has never been this exciting. Instead of the usual setup, they used tape to create a grid on the floor and replaced the traditional X's and O's with toys. The rules were simple. Place your toys in a row faster than your opponent, but only one move per turn. Despite their efforts, things didn't go as planned for a while, but in the end, the girls triumphed in this thrilling round. At first glance, it seems this group is sliding down a mountain for fun, but that's not the case. Their car kept skidding on the snowy road, becoming dangerously uncontrollable. While trying to guide it carefully, the car spun again, and the group quickly rushed to help, sliding down the slope however they could. Everyone sighed in relief when when they finally got the vehicle back on track. Never disturb bees, or the consequences could be disastrous. This man and his wife ventured into a local park and approached a beehive with a matchbox. Shockingly, he threw a lit match into the wild hive. Naturally, the angry bees didn't forgive him and began to chase him down. While he managed to warn his wife filming nearby, they barely escaped into the house. She fed seagulls straight from her face. This girl found a unique way to entertain birds. Picking the perfect filming spot, she attracted the seagulls by generously scattering food. Then, in a bold experiment, she leaned on the railing and held a piece of bread in her teeth, offering it to the birds. Amazingly, one brave seagull swooped in, snatching the food mid-flight. Did you think what I did? This man never imagined his walk would turn into such a discovery. Amazingly, he spotted a marine creature hiding under fallen leaves. Intrigued, he carefully lifted the leaves to avoid startling it, but the creature quickly darted under a rock. Undeterred, he reached in and found a betta fish nest. The most incredible part? He managed to hold and admire this beautiful fish up close in his hands. Have you ever seen how ostrich eggs are collected? This girl works on a farm and has a unique approach to this task. At first glance, her method looks risky, but is it really? Watch as the farmer skillfully reaches the eggs while clinging to the fence. To distract the ostriches, she uses a clever trick, offering them treats. Even when she lost her balance, she carefully descended by holding onto a shocked ostrich's neck. Never crawl into a hole in the ground, no matter how curious you are. This blogger dared to peek into an unfamiliar hole, only to discover it was a bear's den. Imagine the shock when the bear turned around. What happened next will blow your mind. Surprisingly, the predator initially just stared at the unexpected guest, who was lying in its spot. However, as the blogger slowly began to climb out, something happened, and the camera shut off. Incredible! But you can create this beauty yourself. This man took an ordinary ceramic cup and made a small hole in its bottom, but why? Then, he grabbed a ficus seedling, gently wrapped it with soft wire, and shaped it into elegant waves. The most exciting part? Watch as he plants the shaped seedling into the prepared pot, filling it with soil. The final touch, a miniature DIY bonsai tree, was complete. You've never seen anything like this. During a fishing trip, a man caught something massive, but it suddenly pulled him into the water. Struggling to stay afloat while keeping his catch, he fought against the fish's strength. Though other fishermen watched, none dared to help. The fish even managed to slap him in the face. It seemed the struggle was over when the fish calmed down, but the battle wasn't done. In the end, the man emerged from the water, only to discover his catch had torn his strongest net apart. This woman was ready to burn down her house. After spotting a rat navigating her home with ease, she decided to follow it to its new hiding spot. At first, it seemed she had caught the rat, but it slipped away just in time. Determined, she caught it again by the tail. Thankfully for the rat, she didn't harm it. Instead, she placed it in a pot and released it at a nearby lake. This man could be Iron Man. In the video, he proudly showcases a weapon he crafted entirely out of cardboard, but that's just the beginning. His arsenal includes robotic arms, wings, and even a cardboard headpiece. What's more impressive is that he tries on all his creations. To top it off, this genius added a cosplay of a schoolgirl, complete with a cardboard head. His masterpiece? A stunning robot designed as a unicycle. How would you rate him? Do you know who the world's smallest surfer is? This man assembled a team of tiny athletes who quickly became pros. In the video, he helps his pet climb onto a miniature surfboard. Incredibly, the gerbil confidently grips the board with its little paws. Is it scared? According to the man, his pets start training as early as 7 weeks old, making this activity second nature to them. Imagine this. This project is called one of the strangest in the world. The video shows a professional sculptor carving his creation out of ice and snow using a shovel. Unbelievably, this boat isn't just for show. Once finished, the structure is launched into the water for a functionality test. The video ends with the creator paddling it across a body of water. Finally, this unique sculpture is loaded onto a truck and sent to its new home. Do you have an ordinary jar at home? If so, try this simple yet amazing transformation. First, prepare some cement and coat the jar's exterior. While the material is still soft, decorate it with pebbles or other beautiful stones. Once the cement dries, fill it with flowers or even plant a shrub. Voila! A stunning decorative vase ready for display. This hairstylist isn't just a barber, she's an artist. Recently, a client approached her with a unique request. He wanted his favorite cartoon character etched into the back of his head, complete with a portrait. Undaunted, the stylist took on the challenge, creating a masterpiece. She didn't stop there. After dyeing part of his hair, she styled it to resemble a cap. A miniature railway with a real steam engine. Even though the train is tiny, it's fully functional and you can actually ride it. Imagine yourself as the sole passenger or even the conductor. The breathtaking views captured during this enchanting journey are unforgettable. Despite the thick steam puffing directly into your face, the stunning landscapes are impossible to miss. This is the luck every angler dreams of. A group of friends stopped near a river when one of them decided to get closer to the water. Out of curiosity, he dipped his hand into the thick foam. His reaction says it all. Amazingly, he managed to catch a large sturgeon, though it was a fierce struggle. In the end, the powerful fish broke free, but the unforgettable moment will be cherished forever. This man created a true technical marvel that is astonishing at first glance. Incredibly, his four-wheeled vehicle not only transports cargo, but also conquers the toughest routes. Moreover, it has a unique feature. It can run on 3 wheels if needed, but the most impressive part is yet to come. As it turns out, this machine can even transform into a boat. Special fittings on the underside enable the vehicle to transform right before your eyes when entering the water. Although this moment was captured by 2 cameras, the star of the video is no actor. When he approached the trash bins, he met his neighbor, who attempted to throw an empty bottle into the bin. However, the throw failed and the bottle bounced off the bin. That's when the real show began. The man reacted quickly and used one foot to kick the bottle straight into the bin. The highlight of the video, however, was his reaction. It seemed even he didn't expect such a result. What's hiding in this murky water? These guys were walking along the river when one of them noticed some movement in a cluster of aquatic plants. As it turned out, something was indeed there. Despite their fear of the unknown, they decided to take a closer look. One of them even turned on a flashlight to better see the mysterious creature. Incredibly, the creature reacted to the light and quickly swam away. The boys tried to coax it back, but to no avail. It successfully escaped. This woman decided to radically change her hairstyle and did it all by herself. She started by preparing a cardboard rhombus, which she placed on the top of her head. Then, she cut her hair around the shape. However, this was just the beginning. The next step was completely shaving her head, leaving only the rhombus-shaped patch of hair. But the transformation wasn't over yet. To give her look a unique touch, she adorned her head with colorful adhesive gems. A girl was leaving a store without noticing that money had fallen out of her pocket. She politely said goodbye, thinking nothing was amiss. But at that moment, a crime was caught on camera. Shockingly, one of the other customers noticed the dropped bill and, instead of informing her, discreetly covered it with his foot. It seemed his plan had worked until the owner of the money suddenly returned. Despite everything, the man hurriedly left the store without giving the money back. The man stumbled upon a discovery that turned out to be a real treasure. On the seashore, he noticed a rusty medallion peeking out of the sand. At first glance, it seemed like it would crumble if touched. However, something urged the treasure hunter to put the find in his bag. After hours of careful cleaning, the result exceeded all expectations. Amazingly, beneath the layer of rust was a religious medallion known as the Medal of Our Lady of Mercy, and it turned out this vintage masterpiece was made of silver. While cleaning the game arcade, one of the employees found a coin under a machine and decided to try his luck. He tossed the coin into a claw machine filled with plush toys and iPhones. At first, it seemed odd that he was trying to grab an elephant toy, but 2 hidden details changed everything. The first was a mysterious key, and you'll never guess what it was for. The second was that the elephant helped him win multiple iPhones, but then something truly unbelievable happened. He used the key to open the claw machine and took all the prizes. For a single photo, this man dared to attempt an extreme photo shoot that lasted only a few seconds. Shockingly, he hugged a wild beehive. To protect himself, he plugged his ears and nose, though it didn't help much. Surprisingly, he wasn't stung even once. How is that possible? It turns out, this type of Brazilian bee doesn't have stingers, but instead bites painfully with their jaws and can easily get tangled in hair because of the tree resins on their tiny bodies. A desperate fan ran onto the soccer field to meet his idol. Despite obstacles, he not only reached his favorite player, but also managed to snap a photo. However, things quickly went south. Although the player agreed to the photo, stadium stadium security literally ripped the fan away from his idol's embrace. Shockingly, other players stepped in to stop the security guards. Even though the fan spent 10 days in jail, he achieved his dream, a priceless photo with his hero. A furious turkey took over this street and decided to scare pedestrians. As soon as someone passed by, it would run out, puff up its feathers, and charge at them. Unsurprisingly, the reactions varied. Most people simply ran away. However, some found creative ways to avoid the aggressive bird. Look at this woman in pink. Without hesitation, she jumped over a fence. She could only return to the street when the turkey got distracted. Either way, it seemed the bird enjoyed watching people flee in fear. This family decided to say goodbye to their old pool in the most radical way. While relatives were enjoying one last swim, one of them got down to business. In short, he cut open the pool wall. As a result, water gushed out rapidly, and family members floated out one by one through the hole like on a water slide. But wouldn't it have been better to donate the pool to someone in need? Is this life hack worth it? The video creator heard a strange sound outside the window and decided to investigate. What he saw is unforgettable. Shockingly, a woman was clearing snow off her car with a metal shovel. And that's not all. Another car owner joined in, bringing a kettle of hot water. He poured it over the car to melt the snow. When he saw a street punch strength tester, the guy decided to prove his strength and show off. However, neither he nor his friends expected the experiment to turn out so hilariously. The first punch didn't look too impressive. In fact, it seemed like the punching bag almost hit back. But he didn't give up and tried again. The second punch was absolutely jaw-dropping. Just look at the scoreboard. It showed an insanely high score. What do you think his secret is? Did you know that deer can walk on ice? But if they fall, they can't get back up on their own. That's exactly what happened to this doe. Amazingly, she was found stranded in the middle of a frozen lake, so exhausted that she didn't even try to stand up. Thankfully, kind-hearted people tied a rope around her and pulled her to safety. The animal was visibly shaken, but once ashore, rescuers quickly retreated. When they returned, the doe was gone, but her tracks led straight into the forest. A group of students rushed into their classroom after discovering an unexpected guest. Everyone gathered around a bat that had flown into the school. Despite the noise, the winged visitor calmly perched above them, watching the chaos unfold. The students tried everything to catch it, but nothing worked. Finally, one brave student stepped up and carefully placed the bat in a box. Don't worry, the bat was given air holes and safely released the next day. If this girl could hold on to the pull-up bar for 1 minute, she'd win $3,000. Sounds easy, right? Confident in her strength, she accepted the challenge. Interestingly, there was an even bigger prize. Anyone who could last 200 seconds would win an iPhone 15 Pro Max. The task seemed simple, but could anyone actually do it? The timer started and she held on with determination. But at just 22 seconds, unknown forces pulled her back down to the ground. A massive crowd gathered for this jaw-dropping show. A man stood on a jet-powered platform, holding a long metal pole with glowing cubes filled with molten like coal, resembling lava. But the most exciting part was yet to come. With the power of the jet stream, the athlete soared into the sky, performing incredible stunts while holding the fiery pole. You won't believe what this woman discovered! While strolling along a riverbank, she spotted something intriguing sticking out of the mud. She picked it up and realized it was an ancient silver coin. However, its previous owner hadn't used it as currency. The coin was pierced and twisted, suggesting it was worn as an amulet or a necklace. Incredibly, the discovery turned out to be a rare double denarius, dated between 1545 to 1608. This happened during a Halloween celebration in Japan. In Osaka, a crowd gathered near a bridge where a young woman stood at the edge. Surprisingly, the security team didn't rush to intervene, and the onlookers merely watched curiously. Meanwhile, a boat approached below, and then the big moment happened. The girl suddenly leaped into the water and swam toward the boat. The funniest part, she didn't even realize she had lost her wig. It's hard to believe, but this bold shark tried to steal a fisherman's hard-earned catch. Imagine spending an entire day fishing, only to face off with a determined wobbegong shark on your way back to shore. Despite the fish being securely tied to the line, the shark wouldn't give up and fiercely held on. The fisherman, however, refused to back down and fought until the very end. After a tense struggle, he finally managed to save his prized catch. A group of friends decided to prank some fishermen, and it turned out to be unforgettable. It all started when the first floats appeared in the water. At the same time, the pranksters, hiding under a bridge, were ready to act. One of them pulled the fishing line, mimicking mimicking a big fish. Their main goal was to stay quiet and unnoticed. Of course, the fishermen, suspecting nothing, kept pulling the rod, but there was nothing on the hook. Never try this yourself. A woman wanted to take a selfie with a horned beauty, but had no idea how it would end. Suddenly, the animal noticed her massive gold earring and, mistaking it for a berry on a bush, managed to grab it with its mouth. Despite her efforts to retrieve her accessory, it proved impossible. She quickly called for help. The stubborn animal resisted as much as it could, but eventually, the earring fell out of its mouth on its own. Thankfully, no one was hurt. Fantastically, this girl creates art from ordinary trash. However, this time, she took on something truly special. Look closely. Stitch by stitch, the artist sews together discarded gloves, but that's not all. At the same time, she fills each glove with a special stuffing. The result is an extraordinary interactive sculpture. Soon, this masterpiece will be installed in Madrid for everyone to enjoy. During a Christmas fair in Switzerland, something was approaching the crowd. Of course, everyone expected a miracle, and there it was. Illuminated sleighs appeared in the sky. Amazingly, Santa sat in them and stopped right above the crowd. Contrary to expectations, he first waved, but what happened next was shocking. Everyone anticipated gifts, or at least candy being thrown, but instead, Santa pulled out a guitar and began playing for the audience. Fantastically, what this girl created is simply stunning. This time, fluffy, colorful yarn became the base of her masterpiece, but what will it become? At first, the artist carefully selects colors for her future creation. However, the most exciting stage is the hand-weaving process. While it may seem simple, it actually requires immense skill and patience. Finally, after hours of meticulous work, she reveals an elegant and warm scarf made of French mohair. When this uninvited guest entered the airplane cabin, panic spread everywhere. Both crew members and passengers scrambled to catch it. Surprisingly, people grabbed blankets and clothes, hoping to trap the bird, while others calmly filmed the chaos on their phones. At first, one brave soul managed to capture the bird, earning applause from the entire cabin. But within moments, the bird escaped and continued flying around the cabin. These guys explore abandoned places and avoid well-trodden paths. This time, they showcased their visit to a long-forgotten and abandoned site. It all began with a risky descent through a massive hole leading underground. One of the adventurers descended into darkness, unaware of what awaited him. What they discovered was completely unexpected. Besides capturing atmospheric footage, they realized this place was none other than a secret, abandoned underground factory. During a race, spectators came up with an unusual yet hilarious way to support a car that was far from the lead. When the racer appeared on the horizon, French fans jumped up from the stands. Shockingly, while waving their hands, they also started running after the vehicle. Additionally, they had prepared snowballs, which they threw at the car. But does that really motivate the driver? This pair of divers decided to put on wetsuits as quickly as possible. However, things didn't go as planned. When the timer started, they both rushed to suit up. But suddenly, the girl froze. It turned out that the fabric was stuck in the zipper and the suit wouldn't close. The guy, having already completed his task, quickly rushed to help. Aren't they adorable? At first glance, it looks like a giant pear, but that's not the case. An artist transforms a pumpkin into something truly beautiful. After thoroughly cleaning and hollowing it out, she sketches a design onto its surface. Then comes the most exciting part, engraving and drilling intricate patterns. Finally, a light is placed inside, creating a stunning decorative lamp. This girl from China walked into a restroom and froze in shock. The sign on the door seemed to indicate it was the correct place. However, once inside, she was greeted by a surprise. The restroom was shared by both men and women. Even more shocking, there were no walls or partitions between stalls. Exploring further, she discovered another exit, which led her to a hallway marked Men Only. It's incredible, but this man found a real treasure on the southern coast of Great Britain. Initially, he thought it was a coin, but when he picked it up, he realized it was something more, a bronze plaque. Even more exciting, it was a Victorian-era artifact. Despite being encrusted with rust and metal, he managed to clean it, revealing an intricate design and a beautiful crest. This fishing trip was unlike any you've seen before. When one fisherman spotted a catch, he pointed it out, and his friends sprang into action, not with a rod, but with his his bare hands. Without hesitation, he dove into the water to grab the fish. Meanwhile, another fish flopped onto the shore by itself. The guys hesitated to grab it, but clearly weren't planning to let it escape either. If your favorite mug feels boring, there's no need to throw it away. In Oregon, unique mug exchange stands have appeared. The idea is simple, yet brilliant. Anyone can leave a mug and take a different one in return. These creative stands have quickly become popular in the community, offering a sustainable and fun way to recycle kitchenware. Would you like to see one in your city? If so, where? When this girl opened her Christmas gift, she was so excited that she ran outside barefoot. Inside the box was a steering wheel cover, but that was only part of the surprise. Without hesitation, she left the cover and started searching for the main gift. It turned out that a brand new car was waiting for her outside the house. Overjoyed, she hugged the car tightly. However, in her excitement, she drove off immediately, leaving her father behind, who also seemed eager to take the car for a spin. This woman arrived at the maternity hospital and immediately gathered the medical staff. No, she's not a celebrity. The reason was completely different. In the ward, women of all ages gathered, each carrying their makeup bags. As it turned out, the patient was a professional makeup artist. Despite being in the ward, she held a makeup masterclass for the nurses. It turned out to be a therapeutic experience for both the staff and the patient, making the atmosphere in the hospital warmer and friendlier. While climbing a mountain, a group of mountaineers stumbled upon something truly strange. Upon closer inspection, they realized it was a fox in distress. The poor animal had gotten its head stuck in a can left behind by careless visitors. One of the climbers decided to help free the animal. Fortunately, the fox was rescued successfully and quickly ran away. However, instead of taking the trash with him, the rescuer tossed the can aside, leaving it on the mountain. Later, he clarified that the trash was removed afterward. Do you know how to recycle waste paper at home? In this video, students demonstrate how to do it step by step. First, they shredded the paper into small pieces and soaked it in warm water. After several hours, the paper turned into a soft pulp. Then, using a blender, they mixed it into a smooth consistency. The most challenging part came next, sheet casting. With a frame and fine mesh, they shaped the paper sheets, carefully blotted excess water with a sponge, and left them to dry. The final result is truly impressive. Imagine this happening in your home. During a renovation, workers discovered something unbelievable beneath a tile, a rabbit burrow. When one of them reached inside, he pulled out a tiny rabbit, but that was just the beginning. One after another, over 10 baby rabbits emerged from the burrow. Despite their attempts to return to their hiding spot, they were unsuccessful. Thankfully, the fluffy little creatures found new homes, bringing joy to their rescuers. A delivery courier arrived at the house, but instead of the owner greeting him, a dog stepped in. As soon as the front door opened, the smart pup knew exactly what to do. The courier was stunned when the dog calmly approached, took the package, and carried it inside. Meanwhile, another pet waited patiently in the doorway to avoid scaring the courier. This adorable four-legged assistant is truly a dream helper. These firefighters took time out of their busy schedules to bring joy to their community. On a frozen pond, they worked late into the night, clearing ice and pouring water over the surface to strengthen it. Their efforts turned the pond into an ideal ice skating rink. After finishing their task, they invited locals to come and enjoy the perfectly smooth ice. It was a moment of community spirit and joy under the stars. Have you ever heard of turkey bike races? In this unusual event, Spanish athletes race on pedal-less bicycles. But there's a twist. The participants must zigzag along the track in a snake-like motion. This quirky tradition has been celebrated for 89 years, drawing crowds of spectators who cheer loudly for the races. It's an unforgettable experience that combines sportsmanship and entertainment. This brave guy climbed an icy hill not for fun, but to retrieve a lost hat. After spotting the item halfway down the slippery slope, he carefully slid down to grab it. However, his attempt to climb back up proved incredibly challenging. Despite repeated tries and hilarious falls, he eventually returned the hat to its rightful owner. It was an unexpected act of kindness that brought smiles to everyone watching. Don't throw away pistachio shells. This creative artist found a way to repurpose them into stunning decor. After cleaning and drying the shells, she carefully glued them together to form elegant flowers. These flowers were then then attached to branches, creating a beautiful centerpiece for her home. The result? A unique, eco-friendly decoration that adds a touch of nature-inspired charm. In Saudi Arabia, homeowners skipped traditional tiles and instead used 400,000 coins to cover their entire floor. The coins were carefully arranged into intricate patterns and sealed with a durable resin finish. The result is a stunning mosaic floor that's not only eye-catching but also incredibly resilient. This team of painters amazed everyone with their unconventional painting technique. To ensure perfect balance while working on a high wall, they climbed ladders simultaneously. While it may not have been the simplest approach, their teamwork and precision were undeniable. According to experts, parts of the facade could have been finished from the roof, but where's the fun in that? What they found behind this wall is truly astonishing. During a renovation, workers began stripping tiles from a wall covered in plaster. It seemed like a standard procedure until they uncovered a hidden layer of ceramic tiles beneath. The current owners had no idea about its existence. How old could it be? Some may call it creativity, others vandalism. These guys climbed over barbed wire to sneak into a tram depot. Without hesitation, they pulled out spray paints and got to work. At first, it seemed promising, right? However, against all expectations, it became clear that they spared nothing, not even the windows, as they completely repainted the vehicles. Never walk past this chest. It's full of surprises. While strolling through the park, a couple spotted an unusual box with a pedal attached to a bench. Naturally, curiosity took over, so the man started pedaling. And what do you think? Sure enough, a red light on the box lit up. When they pressed a button, the mechanism activated. Suddenly, music began playing from a speaker installed on the side. During the race, this car was holding on to 8th place, but suddenly, the competition had to be stopped. The driver lost control, and the car veered off the road, ending up in a fire pond. Fortunately, Johannes Kaferbeck and his co-driver Ilk Miner managed to escape the icy water on their own. However, retrieving the car turned out to be more challenging than expected. Nonetheless, firefighters began pumping water from the pond to evacuate the vehicle. Meanwhile, fans were convinced that inviting divers would have sped up the rescue operation. Eventually, the car was successfully recovered. Never try jumping on a frozen trampoline, or you might end up in a similar situation. It all began when the video's author decided to clear a path to the trampoline with his bare hands, as even the surrounding walls were coated in ice. But that didn't stop the daredevil, who hurried inside. Surprisingly, a shock awaited him on the platform. Instead of a bouncy surface, there was icy water. Despite this, he tried to move forward, but his foot broke through the ice. In the end, he quickly rushed back outside. Have you ever wondered who the biggest enemies of Christmas trees are? Aside from strong winds that can knock them over, it's people cutting them down for the holidays. While a Christmas tree adds festive charm, this video reveals what happens after the tree leaves your home. Shockingly, it's burned, and just a small flame is enough to ignite it like a matchstick. This girl saved nearly $1,000 just by pulling over on the roadside. While driving, she noticed discarded bushes that looked like trash. Among them was an evergreen boxwood plant, which turned out to be worth around $80 each. With the help of her relatives, she worked to revive these valuable plants. Would you sell them or keep them? If you hate shoveling snow, this video is for you. This man prepared for winter by laying mats across his yard before the first snow. When the time came, he simply removed them, revealing a clear pathway. The whole process took just 30 seconds and required no shovel. Would you try this? This man stumbled upon a unique self-serve flower shop located in the middle of a street. The shelf is stocked with compartments that maintain the ideal temperature for flowers. The shop operates 24/7 and customers can pay with a credit card. While some prefer flower salons with consultants, this approach offers convenience. Where would you shop for flowers? What if you could test your luck on a one-of-a-kind slot machine? Unlike regular gambling machines, this attraction was featured at a Brazilian festival. Inside the box are people randomly displaying fruits or vegetables. If the player matches 3 identical items, a spectacular show begins with smoke and confetti resembling money. While walking through the streets of Mexico, the author of this video noticed a long line at a street vendor's stall. Everyone was waiting for a serving of lemon turon, a treat similar to Turkish delight. The sweets were so enticing that a swarm of bees gathered around. Surprisingly, neither the vendor nor the bees seemed bothered by one another. Do you like sweets with such company? Believe it or not, this guy almost ended up with fish soup. While stopped at a traffic light, a driver noticed water leaking from a scooter nearby. Concerned, he got out of his car to warn the rider, only to find an aquarium filled with fish under the scooter seat. But why transport fish this way? This moment turned out to be unforgettable for everyone present. The birthday girl decided to celebrate by climbing a mountain. At the summit, she posed with her cake for a picture. Unexpectedly, a local bird joined the party. After tasting the cake, it went back for more, causing the dessert to tumble to the ground. When this guy touches his wrist with an LED bulb, it lights up. But why? If he touches any other body part, it doesn't work. The explanation lies in the capacitor, which stores energy for the bulb. However, the energy is limited, and the bulb only lights up when he connects all its contacts. Would you try this? How would you tackle a muddy road? This man came up with a brilliant innovation worthy of a medal for creativity. Faced with slippery terrain and steep inclines, he attached a chain to his motorcycle's wheel. Surprisingly, it helped him navigate the challenging path with ease. But wouldn't walking up the hill have been simpler? They say NASA is looking for this man. His invention has truly caught everyone's attention. Incredibly, he transformed his old bicycle into a new kind of vehicle. Just imagine, the man attached a motor to his two-wheeler, so now there's no need to pedal as it moves on its own. But that's not all. The most surprising part is how the inventor plans to brake. It seems like stopping might require jumping off while in motion. When the creator of this video broke her piggy bank, she was shocked by what she found. The box seemed so heavy that it was barely manageable to hold. However, when she opened it, she realized it wasn't even full yet. Despite this, the girl already knew how she'd spend her savings. First, she counted the money and then headed to the terminal. But aside from reloading her card, she was also faced with hefty transaction fees. When the man came home, he was in for a real shock. Every room in the house was filled with mosquitoes. But how could this happen? It turns out the homeowners had left an insect repellent device running but hadn't read the instructions. The device disorients mosquitoes and isn't meant for indoor use. The confused mosquitoes didn't know where to fly, leading to a full-blown invasion. Would you accept such an offer from a police officer? When a patrol car suddenly stopped near a snowy hill, no one could have guessed what would happen next. Hard to believe, but one of the officers suggested a speed competition down the snowy slope. The officer was quickly handed an inflatable tube, and he slid down the hill cheering like a child. Astonishingly, the streets of China now feature spots offering a unique service. This machine can carve images into stone with incredible precision. Even more impressive, all you need to do is upload a photo to the device and it will quickly engrave it using a laser. Remarkably, the carving can be up to 5 millimeters deep. And that's not all. The machine isn't just for stone, it works on other hard materials too. This guy wasn't nicknamed the Backpack Man for no reason. He literally blended into the cyclist. What's even more surprising is that during this hilarious stunt, neither of them was wearing helmets or knee pads. It seems the video creator completely trusted his friend. Leaning against his back, he held on tightly. But how far can you really ride in that position? You'll never guess who this woman is. She joined a manual grass cutting competition and shocked everyone in seconds. Interestingly, the contest featured both men and women competing on equal terms. Despite that, when the timer started, the participants got to work. To the audience's amazement, while the man behind her worked on his patch, the heroine of the video mowed through her section like a lawnmower. As a result, she not only led the competition, but also gained additional support from rural voters as she turned out to be a politician. This unfortunate event happened during a cycling race, with the dream of the finish line just within reach. Suddenly, one of the athletes had to stop. Despite the heat of the competition and rising emotions, he urgently called for his assistant. Eventually, the helper arrived with a spare bike, allowing him to continue the race. It was later revealed that a flat tire was the cause of the stop. If you're going to the beach, it's only worth it with this tool. At first glance, it might look like this man is searching for an underground water source, but that's not the case. In reality, he's helping beachgoers set up comfortably. The video shows him drilling a large hole in the sand. Surprisingly, he buried an umbrella there, ensuring even strong winds couldn't blow it away. Isn't that a genius idea? What would you do in this situation? Even though these tents were secured to concrete slabs, bad weather still caused damage. When strong winds hit, many of the shop owners weren't present, leaving no one to secure the items on their counters. As a result, one vendor filmed his neighbors as they tried to save their setups. However, some didn't appreciate his actions and even accused him of indifference. Eventually, others stepped in to help. The man later explained that he was was simply holding down his own tent. This time, the police arrived with a special device. Near the water body, a crowd of onlookers gathered as an officer lowered a search tool into the water, reaching the bottom. Incredibly, he retrieved the lost item, a mobile phone, on the first try. Judging by his skill, this wasn't his first time performing such a task. However, the phone's owner, upon receiving it, didn't thank the officer and walked away without a word. It's hard to believe, but when an intoxicated man left a local bar, everyone followed him out, including the staff. It turned out he had brazenly taken someone else's car. Shockingly, not just the car owner, but everyone present ran after him. Intoxicated, the man couldn't drive out of the parking lot and ended up damaging 2 other cars. The crowd didn't wait for the police to intervene. They stopped him themselves. Such quick action is truly impressive, isn't it? How about this? This guy transformed a simple chain link fence into a stylish and original barrier. While he saved on materials, he put in a lot of effort, using a special plastic strip woven through the mesh. What's more, the strips are easily removable if needed. However, one question remains. Can this fence withstand high temperatures? Despite the dirt and debris, this girl felt proud of her work. Sadly, due to fires and strong winds in the US, a private pond became filled with ash and debris, harming aquatic life. Determined to help, she drained and thoroughly cleaned the pond. Amazingly, she found and rescued several carp hiding amidst the mess. Don't worry, the fish were sent to a rehabilitation center for proper care. Did you know that the word bicycle translates to fast legs in French? In this video, a group of cyclists attempts to ride on an icy road without pedaling. Some even walk beside their bikes, too nervous to ride, while a few manage to control their bikes confidently. Others seem resigned to struggling along. Eventually, they move to a safer roadside to continue their journey without further mishaps. It's incredible to watch this man attempt one of the most unusual world records. Hailing from Germany, he's compared to a warrior monk. Amazingly, he trained for years for this moment. As the long-awaited event began, he broke baseball bats one after another with his bare hands. However, alongside admiration came criticism from those unhappy about the misuse of sports equipment. When this man stepped off his bus, he couldn't believe his eyes. Astonishingly, he was greeted by an army of snails, all in different colors. These little creatures were everywhere, even on a nearby car. The man chose to stay in his bus, reluctant to step into the snail-covered area. Did you know snails can think, make decisions, and travel in large groups? Perhaps they decided this was their new home. This shop turned into a frenzy. Employees scrambled to catch a runaway parrot. As soon as the bird escaped its cage, the shop doors were closed and the chase began. Surprisingly, the staff had nets ready, hinting that this wasn't the first escape. Despite the determined pursuit, the parrot didn't give up easily, trying desperately to break free. Unfortunately for the bird, its escape attempt ended in capture. While one tiler is busy working, another surprises with his hidden talent. These guys decided to share a glimpse of their typical workday. Despite the tasks from their client, they made time for creativity. One of the workers amazed everyone with his dancing skills while laying tiles. In the end, not only did they complete the project, but they also managed to advertise their services in a fun and creative way. What do you think of the final result? Dreaming of saying goodbye to flying insects once and for all? The creator of this idea admitted that she collected bugs all summer long, ensuring no creatures were harmed just for the video. Amazingly, she crafted an entire farewell ceremony for the winged pests. To capture them, she used a device that attracts insects with glue. While it might seem odd, the touching goodbye to the pesky critters is definitely unique. How would you rate this idea from 1 to 10? A group of friends was relaxing by a lake when suddenly a snake slithered toward them. Naturally, the guys backed away slowly. Surprisingly, the reptile seemed to target one person specifically. Without much thought, the guy started running. After a dramatic chase, he managed to pin the snake with his foot. That's when he noticed something strange. Everyone was laughing. It turned out to be a rubber snake someone had secretly attached to his jacket. How would you have reacted? During a renovation, workers stumbled upon a surprise, a wild beehive. They decided to deal with it in a rather extreme way. Despite the dry straw and wooden hidden ceiling, they set the hive on fire. Couldn't they have chosen a safer method to handle the bees? What's even more shocking is that their only preparation for a potential fire was a single bucket of water. Thankfully, when the hive caught fire, so did the straw, but they managed to extinguish it on the first try. This video will make you think twice before copying someone else. At first glance, it seems incredible. A man sits directly on the surface of the water. Seeing this, his friend decided to try it too. However, there was a secret to the trick. The man sitting on the water was happy to help, but revealed the secret just a moment later. In the end, the friend's attempt ended in failure as he fell into the water. That's when the truth of the trick was revealed. As much as this looks like a hammock, it's not. A skilled craftsman created a lightweight aircraft, a paramotor, entirely at home. Watch as the fearless inventor sits in his untested creation. Still in the testing phase, his first attempt to launch was indoors. While the aircraft is engine-powered, can it really take flight? Were you also thinking the propeller might smash into the ground? This girl left everyone in the gym speechless. She showcased something that not even many men can do. The athlete decided to film her favorite workout, pull-ups on a bar, but the incredible reactions of others stole the show. During the exercise, she held a 5-kilogram weight plate between her thighs. Onlookers couldn't take their eyes off her. Were you impressed too? You won't believe this is a real abandoned restroom near a New York City subway station. Imagine, this place was shut down back in 1970. Despite the dilapidated state of the facility, visitors were greeted with stunning graffiti covering the walls. But the most exciting part was yet to come. The explorers decided to venture into the subway mezzanine, which had also been closed for decades. Would you want to visit a place like this? These girls tried to prank a stranger, but it backfired. Waiting in a hotel hallway, they knocked on a door and ran when a man approached. Their plan to frame him failed spectacularly when they realized they had knocked on his own door. The man stood there, confused as the girls fled. Turns out there was no one inside to open the door. The match hadn't even started when a woman stormed the soccer field. Climbing over the stands for her moment of fame, she darted across the pitch as security chased her down. Her agility rivaled that of the players, but she was finally caught after helping a guard climb the barrier. Her bold stunt earned her a fine, but was it worth it? This guy deserves the title of Family MVP. During a family gathering, it was gift opening time, and his package contained a shirt with a heartfelt confession from his grandmother. It revealed he was her favorite grandchild. Overwhelmed with emotion, he proudly donned the shirt, showing it off to his siblings. While it made his day, others questioned if the gesture was fair to the rest of the family. A skier and snowboarder invented an epic new sport. Combining their skills, the snowboarder used his board as a sled, while the skier directed their downhill ride. Dubbed skiboarding, their thrilling creation seemed risky but undeniably fun. The only question remains, how do they stop? A routine shopping trip turned chaotic when protesters blocked his path. Inside a supermarket, a group of vegans staged a protest against eating meat. They even took control of a shopper's cart, claiming their demonstration was peaceful. While security eventually arrived, they couldn't resolve the standoff, leaving frustrated shoppers stuck. As the crowd grew, it sparked a debate. Are such protests justified? Always read the instructions before assembling furniture. Otherwise, you might end up like the people in this video. This couple decided to put together a table at home, thinking it was a simple task with just a few parts. What could possibly go wrong? Shockingly, when the man started securing the legs, he accidentally drilled straight through the tabletop, leaving multiple holes. But as it turns out, this mistake was easy to fix. A simple tablecloth perfectly hid the damage. A blogger decided to capture aerial views of private homes, but the consequences made him regret it. As soon as his drone was ready for takeoff, the homeowner appeared, furious at the idea of a camera flying over her property. Outraged, she immediately called the police. Meanwhile, the photographer, unfazed by the confrontation, continued prepping his drone. However, before law enforcement could arrive, the woman took matters into her own hands and smashed the drone. Furious, the blogger also filed a complaint, claiming he was a victim of an attack. Who do you think was in the wrong? It's shocking, but this dog casually strolled through a supermarket while its owners were busy shopping. No, this wasn't negligence. The couple was convinced their furry friend was right beside them because they were holding the leash. However, a passerby soon noticed something odd. The leash wasn't attached to the dog at all. Instead, it was wrapped around their grocery cart. Now imagine the security camera operator's reaction. He laughed so hard because even he couldn't believe what had happened. This man was doing squats with a barbell when suddenly another gym goer joined him, but just seconds later, a third person joined in. Unbelievably, one by one, more and more fitness enthusiasts linked together, forming a human squat chain. It looked like the entire gym had come together to support the weightlifter. However, the moment a trainer appeared, holding a sign about gym discounts, everything became clear. Turns out, the whole scene was a well-planned advertisement. Did you figure it out right away? These black women started filming a video, but quickly found themselves in a troubling situation. Just take a look. When they entered a store, the owner locked the doors, suspecting them of shoplifting. Shockingly, instead of calling the police, she decided to conduct her own investigation, essentially holding them hostage in the store. The women refused to stay silent and called the police themselves. As it turned out, there was no theft at all. However, despite the store staff clearly violating their rights, the police stated that this was not considered an emergency and couldn't help. When a subway car suddenly turned into a jungle, passengers couldn't believe their eyes. Just look. At one stop, a man entered carrying several potted plants, but he didn't stop at just a few. He kept unloading more and more, filling up the entire space. Meanwhile, the available walking space kept shrinking. To make matters worse, the train doors kept closing. Despite the chaos, none of the passengers stepped in to assist. According to them, not only did this man take up half the subway car, but he also hadn't paid for the extra space and even caused a delay. Do you think he had the right to do this? Unbelievable. The moment the doors of this shopping mall opened, a massive crowd rushed toward one specific section. Even more surprising, store employees joined in the hunt for this sought-after item. Unfortunately, the stampede resulted in pushing and shoving, and within seconds, the highly coveted product was sold out. And as you may have guessed, this frenzy was all about collectible Pokemon cards. Some of these rare finds can be worth a fortune. These older women nearly got fined for littering on the street. Instead of finding a trash can, they simply tossed their cigarette butts onto the ground. Within moments, an environmental inspector appeared, ready to issue them a fine. Just then, a bystander stepped in and advised them to ignore the inspector, arguing that he had no legal right to pursue them. Moments later, one of the women declared that she would call her son, a police officer, to deal with the situation. At first, it seemed like a group of friends was simply enjoying a peaceful visit to a nature reserve in Fort Collins, Colorado. However, their trip took an unexpected turn when they encountered an angry woman. She aggressively insisted that dogs had no place in the park. Despite her harsh tone, the visitors calmly explained that their four-legged companion was a certified service dog, meaning he had the legal right to be there. Shockingly, even after hearing this, the woman refused to back down and continued her lecture on park regulations. Not wanting to argue, the group politely said goodbye and continued their hike. How would you have handled this situation? During a casual walk, this couple found themselves in an incredibly awkward situation. Imagine being stopped by a stranger, convinced that your dog is actually her long-lost pet. Despite her desperate attempts to take the frightened pup, the dog showed no recognition and kept hiding behind its real owners. Everything changed when the couple called the police. After an official check, it was confirmed the dog truly belonged to them. This is what happens when you experiment without thinking. This girl was feeling bored and decided to test how frozen her backyard pool was. Even though the ice was clearly thin, she got her friend to help and took a step onto the slippery surface. But that one step was all it took. Within seconds, she fell straight into the freezing water. Luckily, despite the sharp ice edges, she wasn't hurt, just completely soaked. What's the most reckless thing you've ever done? While one rescuer saws through the wood, another is blowing away the splinters. This guy got his middle finger stuck in a hole inside a wooden drawer, turning it into a serious problem. And just like that, his playful smile vanished the moment he saw the power tools. Eventually, he trusted the professionals, watching them work as if he had no regrets. Fortunately, despite the swelling, his finger was freed without injury. But seriously, what was he even thinking? You won't believe what happened when this garage door opened. A crowd instantly rushed in, hunting for hidden treasures. The homeowners decided to host a garage sale, inviting neighbors to browse through their old belongings. What some saw as junk turned out to be real gems for collectors and antique lovers. And the craziest part, the person person filming spent only $5 but later flipped his fines for over $500. This spider came out of nowhere. These guys arrived in Australia, but they were not ready for this kind of surprise. It all started when a massive spider suddenly jumped onto one of them. Despite warnings from the camera operator, the guy thought it was a joke until he spotted the creepy creature's reflection in the window. Every attempt to shake it off failed, so he did the only thing left. He ran for his life. Unbelievable. The concert hadn't even started, and this woman was already showing off her dance moves. Her high-energy performance quickly caught the attention of the crowd. You'd think this would set the mood for the event, but one lady in a pink dress wasn't having it. Security stepped in, giving the dancer a stern warning. But the best part? The moment they turned their backs, she went right back to dancing. How would you have reacted? This bride was rushing to her own wedding, but every taxi was taken. Naturally, the panic kept growing as there was dangerously little time left before the ceremony. Luckily, the woman filming the video noticed her, and she just so happened to have a pre-booked ride. Without hesitation, she decided to help, adding an extra stop to her route just for the bride. For the bride, this was nothing short of a miracle. In the end, she made it on time, but in the rush, she forgot to close the car door. This flight reminded many of Titanic. Its fate was just as dramatic. Take a look. Passengers started grabbing their belongings from under the seats mid-flight, and it's no surprise. When water suddenly appeared in the cabin, people scrambled to save their stuff. Some moved their bags away from the moisture, while others just tried to find a dry spot. But the real shocker? The cause of the incident is still unknown. Some believe it was a leak from the drinking water supply, while others are convinced it came from the restroom. An artisan decided to sell her handmade crafts in the middle of a park, but things didn't go as planned. A police officer approached her and explained that selling without a permit was prohibited. To document the violation, he asked for her ID. But then things took an unexpected turn. She revealed that her bag had been stolen, so she had no documents on her. To make matters worse, she flat out refused to give her name. And what do you think happened? She couldn't avoid responsibility. Without cooperation, she was facing arrest. When this daredevil stepped onto a frozen pool, he didn't even notice water seeping through a crack in the ice. At that moment, tension spread through the crowd. Still, as if skating, he decided to take a few laps until he suddenly heard the ice cracking beneath him. And that's when the real show began. Avoiding sudden movements, he carefully and skillfully made his way toward the ladder. In the end, despite everything, he managed to climb out, leaving behind shattered ice. We're listening, not judging. This man admitted that he had never been stuck in the snow before, so he came up with a rather unusual way to free his car. Believe it or not, he poured pots of water under the tires until he created a puddle. And that's not all. After this, the mastermind behind the idea started shoveling the neighboring parking spot and then laid down some cardboard on the snow. But here's the kicker. The car still couldn't reach the prepared spot. In fact, it got stuck again. So, what did he do? He decided to repeat his water trick. While everyone sleeps, this woman brews strong coffee and preps her storm shelter. The video's creator, a Tennessee resident, shows how to properly prepare for one of nature's most dangerous disasters. Take a look! She transformed her laundry room into a shelter, setting up 2 beds inside. She also stocked up on medicine, water, and food in advance. Impressive, isn't it? And surprisingly, this kind of preparation is absolutely essential, because the looming hurricane could bring deadly tornadoes. But how do people in Tornado Alley survive without basements? What if you turned a well into an underground hideout with secret passageways? You won't believe where this leads. This man climbed down into his own underground world and revealed something truly incredible. Just before reaching the water level, he stepped into a hidden chamber. It's mind-blowing. The footage shows a fully equipped gym and a narrow tunnel leading to a newly built bunker. But the most shocking part? This shelter has a direct hidden connection to his house. While taking a stroll through the park, this man had no idea what surprise was waiting for him. He spotted a glove on the path and, noticing a group of people ahead, decided to return the lost item to its owner. However, no matter how much he called out, no one turned around, so he picked up the pace to catch up. Just imagine his shock when the group stopped and one of the girls took the glove, only to hand him his favorite drink in return. Turns out they were his friends, who had traveled 9 hours just to surprise him. Even though this store sells coffee, it looks like the caffeine didn't help the cashier stay awake. Shockingly, the poor guy was so exhausted that he fell asleep standing up at the register. Meanwhile, a crowd of potential customers gathered by the entrance. Despite their loud calls, the cashier didn't even budge. Some might feel sorry for him, but the people waiting outside had a different opinion. In the end, they had no choice but to stand there and wait until he woke up. How much money is in here? When this couple walked into the cafe, they were absolutely stunned. The walls and ceiling were completely covered in dollar bills. Believe it or not, it's a long-standing tradition for visitors to leave money as a keepsake. Naturally, the newcomers decided to take part, adding a few dollars of their own. But first, they tried to estimate just how much cash was hanging around. Of course, they couldn't resist the classic local joke, attempting to pay for their order with bills they could grab from the ceiling. This girl wanted to prank her dad, and here's how it turned out. While her mom took on the role of camera woman, the daughter called her father, telling him that the water is running out of the dishwasher. Of course, he rushed in to save the kitchen, but instead of a flood, he was met with water bottles stuffed inside shoes, making it look like the water had escaped. Even so, he didn't immediately realize it was a prank and bent down to try and stop the leak. No one expected this prank to end the way it did. A group of friends decided to toss one of their buddies into a lake for fun, but just as they were about to do it, they noticed the water in that spot was way too shallow and filthy too. To avoid trouble, they carried him farther, looking for a safer spot. It seemed like they had found the perfect location, but at the last second, the wooden bridge beneath them gave out. In the blink of an eye, the entire group was in the water, and, as always, the person filming stayed dry, capturing every second of the disaster. What is he doing? After being admitted to the hospital, this guy was immediately hooked up to an IV, but as soon as the doctor stepped away, he did something absolutely insane. Just look. He bit into the IV bag, aimed the stream over the sink, and then started squeezing it to speed up the process. The most shocking part? He was literally forcing the medication into his system under pressure. His only concern was getting discharged with a medical note. Yes, this was beyond dangerous, but luckily, he made it out okay. These people were waiting for their order at the McDonald's pickup window when they captured something unbelievable. A man was standing next to a car, seemingly ready to snatch a bag of food, and sure enough, he grabbed it. But just as he made his move, an employee leaned out of the window, looking ready to jump out and chase him down. To everyone's surprise, the so-called thief came back. Turns out it was just a prank, and the entire drive-thru was left laughing. When this woman walked into a cafe, one of the employees decided to show her a disappearing money trick. Shockingly, he even asked for her wallet. The classy lady seemed to expect some kind of trickery, and she was right. As soon as the magician moved the coin, it vanished. For a moment, the customer truly believed in magic and searched for the missing money, only to realize it had never actually moved. But she wasn't amused, and when he brought up her wallet again, her interest in magic disappeared completely. This was a gift he never expected. When he woke up, the boy rushed to see the surprise his parents had prepared for him. To make it extra special, they covered the entrance to the renovated room with wrapping paper, but when he tore it down, what he saw left him speechless. Right in the middle of the room stood brand new furniture, and the biggest surprise, a fully equipped home barber shop. The video creator returned to McDonald's once again, but this time with 4 cameras. Why? It all started when, during her previous visit, a restaurant employee served a drink not in a cup but in a can. Moreover, she asked the customer not to record video. Shockingly, this infuriated her so much that the woman came back with a friend who filmed the drive-thru window on 3 phones simultaneously. And that's not all. At the same time, the incident was also captured by the driver's camera. In the end, they were simply refunded as service was refused. This girl sat in a barber's chair for several hours while the stylist worked magic on her hair, but the ending will surely surprise you. Throughout the process, the client was repeatedly asked if she liked her hairstyle, and she always replied, "Everything is wonderful." However, when only a few braids remained to be done, the hairdresser asked for payment. In response, the client refused, yet they finished the hairstyle anyway. Unbelievably, the girl then declared that she was dissatisfied with the result, and in the end, she couldn't simply leave the salon because the owner called the cops. It's hard to believe, but this tray weighs more than it appears. When the waiter collected the dirty dishes from the tables, he wanted to test his strength, and balancing, walked through the dining room. Just look, and although the guy leaned sideways, he still managed to descend the stairs. Fortunately, the dishes successfully reached the kitchen. But now, the most interesting part. According to the waiter, the tray in the video is his new record, as it weighs 180 kilograms. Can you believe it? What do you think happened in this video? The relatives prepared a gift for the birthday girl and entrusted it to her, a box containing a cake and various sweets. While the celebrant was still inside the house, they found the perfect moment to congratulate her. So, all together, sneaking up from behind, they sang a festive song, but then something unexpected happened. The bottom couldn't support the weight, and the sweets fell onto the floor. Keep a close eye on this woman's hands. Indeed, after visiting a restaurant, the video creator decided to try her luck and bought an oyster with pearls. She had no idea what would happen next. Of course, the offer was enticing, only $35 for a chance to find a treasure. When the staff member opened the mollusk, everyone held their breath. It turned out that inside was an incredibly beautiful pearl, which was immediately washed and dried. However, some viewers thought there were at least 2 pearls, and the larger one, it seems, was cleverly disguised as part of the mollusk. What did you see? Did he really intend to trick the vending machine and take all the money? It turns out that this young daredevil put on gloves for a reason. But the most surprising part is that for this unusual stunt, he had prepared adhesive insect tape in advance. And when he finally inserted it into the machine, the audience became curious. What would come of it? So, the machine started working, and at the same time, a significant amount of banknotes began sticking to the tape. Yes, his clever plan worked. What do you say? This landlord regretted not conducting scheduled inspections earlier, and so she visited one of her properties and, surprisingly, was unable to contact the tenant. Shockingly, after leaving behind a pile of trash, battered furniture, and broken appliances, the unfortunate residents eventually dared to get in touch. And worst of all, after the official eviction, they stated that not only do they not plan to compensate for the damages, but they also refuse to clean up after themselves. It's hard to believe, but this tourist wanted to ski so badly that he couldn't wait for the snowy mountains. Just imagine, despite having expensive equipment, he decided to test his skis on an asphalt road barely covered with snow. And although it may look funny, the video's author admits that he rented the ski equipment. In the end, while the man was enjoying the moment, experienced skiers warned him, intentional damage to equipment is not covered by insurance. This woman heard a loud crack and had no idea what would happen next. Despite everything, she hurried to check on the glass table she had bought only a week ago. However, when the video creator decided to remove the glass surface from its wooden base, the table suddenly exploded, shattering into tiny fragments all over the room. Interestingly, during the incident, only a tablecloth and a glass were on it. It's fantastic, but even after the explosion, the small pieces of glass continued to crackle like a fireplace. You wouldn't envy the owner of this truck. Just look, he drove to the shore to launch his boat when an unexpected wave changed all his plans. In an instant, both the boat and the truck ended up in the water. It seemed like a hopeless situation, but compassionate bystanders rushed to help. Eventually, the rescue operation dragged on, as reaching the truck was more difficult than it appeared. Despite the challenges, he finally managed to tow it with a rope. When the girl returned from work, she couldn't believe her eyes. Literally, all the furniture had vanished from the apartment. Only disorder and empty walls remained. It got to the point where the poor girl had to borrow a lamp from the neighbors because there was no light in the rooms. Unfortunately, all the property disappeared in one night, and it wasn't a robbery. It's hard to fathom that behind it all was her father, who, at one moment, decided to move in with his lover and permanently leave the family nest. In doing so, he gave his children the opportunity to start an independent life. Do you support or condemn this? It's astonishing, but as soon as a large package appeared on this house's doorstep, the woman insisted on returning it to the store. So, the initiator of the $5,000 massage chair order was her husband, who planned to surprise his wife. However, she didn't like the gift at all. Moreover, the delivery workers became unexpected witnesses to a family drama as they got caught in the heat of the woman's frustration. It turned out that the couple had already discussed this purchase earlier, and even then, the woman was against it. The only question is, was this gift really for his wife, or did he intend to use it himself? After purchasing a house, the new owner discovered a hidden room. However, despite his attempts, opening the door wasn't easy. While inspecting the walls and ceiling, he noticed a screwdriver hidden between the tiles. Additionally, there was a small hole in the wall, which turned out to be a lock. Incredibly, when the door finally opened, a tiny room was revealed. Inside, the man found a collection of bottles and 2 old crates left behind by the previous previous owner. But most importantly, he finally located what he had been searching for over several days: the breaker box and water heater. This man gave his mother-in-law no chance. He made it clear she was not welcome in his home. When the long-standing conflict between the relatives finally escalated, they shared all the details on social media. The video shows a weary man after trying to reconcile his wife and her mother, taking his wife's side and forcing his mother-in-law to leave. However, only the mention of calling the police convinced the woman to leave voluntarily. But should something like this really be shared with the public? The guys came up with a brilliant prank for their friend who always wakes up late. Interestingly, all they needed was a ladder and glue. First, they stealthily took his phone and firmly stuck it to the ceiling. Then, they erased all evidence and, as if nothing had happened, greeted their sleepy friend. Surprisingly, he didn't immediately notice the missing phone, so the pranksters decided to call him. What's shocking is that, despite having an injured leg, the man tried to retrieve his phone himself. This surprise from her brother will be hard to forget. The girl received a bizarre gift that took her quite a while to unwrap. It was completely encased in cement. So, the unboxing was moved outdoors, where the video's protagonist armed herself with a hammer while her relatives eagerly waited for the reveal. Of course, breaking it apart took a long time, but eventually, a small package emerged from the cement. However, when she opened it, she found pink fabric. Turns out, it was oversized women's underwear. When the plane landed, passengers rushed to collect their luggage. However, one of them found himself in a rather awkward situation. Just look, his wife's belongings were scattered all over the baggage carousel. As a result, the man had to gather everything himself, since, as the airline staff explained, their suitcase had broken. Fortunately, the airline stepped in to help and provided a garbage bag to pack up the clothes. This man had an argument with his wife, and to teach him a lesson, she changed the password to their apartment. Standing outside the locked door, he saw no other option but to take drastic action. So, grabbing a sledgehammer, the video's author began smashing the smart lock. Despite the loud banging and the alarm going off, no one came to open the door. Imagine, only after half an hour of struggle did he finally manage to remove the smart lock panel, and eventually the door gave in. They spent a long time discussing the best way to lower the furniture from the balcony, and then the moment of truth. The first item in line was an old couch. Everything seemed carefully planned. The furniture was securely tied with a rope to the railing. Looks dangerous, doesn't it? Despite that, during the lowering process, one of the strategists almost fell with it. Luckily, everything turned out fine, and the couch landed successfully on a flower bed. However, there were still more pieces of furniture to go, and enthusiasm among the group was fading fast. Upon arriving at the house, the driver couldn't find the gate keys and was unable to proceed. Meanwhile, his friend decided to show off his agility and attempted to climb over the fence. At first, everything was going smoothly until he suddenly got stuck right at the top in the thick bushes. The funniest part? He struggled to get down for quite some time, and just when he finally freed himself, the gate opened. Would you have climbed like that, or would you have searched for the keys? A girl rushed to her car as soon as she noticed a note on the side window. At that moment, she had no idea she was about to read an apology for damaging her vehicle. But the most interesting part was yet to come. The person responsible had left a phone number and promised to compensate for the damage. However, upon inspecting the car, the girl found a fresh dent on the front bumper. What's shocking is that another damaged car was parked nearby. Hard to believe, but her suspicions were confirmed. The note was left by the owner of the neighboring car. This woman from Chile showed off a unique restroom that might give you chills. Interestingly, it's not about the large window overlooking the restaurant. In fact, this spacious room is designed to accommodate people with disabilities. But there's another secret. Just take a look. Behind the mirror, there's another toilet, much smaller. The most surprising part, they even managed to fit a sink in this tiny space. This man from Kazakhstan surprised his grandkids with an original gift. Grandpa had been collecting coins for a long time, saving them for this very day. Finally, he poured hundreds of tenge in front of the youngest family members. However, he didn't divide them evenly. Instead, it was much more exciting. However much they could grab with their hands, they got to keep. In the end, the grateful grandkids went off to count their money. Amazingly, they collected over 35,000 tenge. What do you think of this family tradition? Stopping on the roadside, a driver noticed a strange box. He decided to check what was inside, and when he looked, he couldn't believe his eyes. It was an ATM box, and surprisingly, it was full of cash. Without hesitation, hesitation, he took it home. Shockingly, after posting a video of his discovery, he received hundreds of offers from people wanting to help open the box, which turned out to be plastic. Suddenly, the man admitted that he planned to return all the lost money. Another skier who broke the rules on the slopes has been caught. Whether he likes it or not, now he's in for an extreme descent. The video shows the ski patrol dealing with the unruly vacationer. Imagine this. As they descend, the rule breaker is forced to hold onto his legs the entire time. But what's even more impressive is the cameraman who perfectly captures everything. Seriously though, how are they planning to stop? These actions were performed by professionals, and no one involved was harmed. This group of like-minded individuals cut out chunks of ice and then lowered them into the water. But why? Interestingly enough, after clearing out the hole in the ice, they started installing a metal shelter. Despite the risks involved, these men seemed confident in their idea. The massive size of the hole suggests they're expecting a serious catch. Eventually, it turned out that this box allows several people to fish at once while staying protected from the wind. Do you think it's safe? When moving out, a former tenant left a surprise for the new homeowner. Imagine, during renovations, she stumbled upon something quite unusual. It was a screwdriver seemingly pointing directly at an outlet. Shockingly, without hesitation, she looked inside, and her surprise only grew when she found a note hidden there. Upon opening it, she discovered that the previous owner had simply wanted to see if anyone would find his little message. Let's be honest, not every woman could pull this off. These athletic beauties prove that nothing is impossible for them. The video shows a fun competition held annually in El Salvador and considered a local tradition. First, participants walk through city streets as if on a runway, but later comes the main event, racing in high heels. Just imagine, they had been preparing for months for this moment. The results are truly impressive. Despite being surrounded by cameras and a crowd watching this spectacle, he decided to shoot a video with an unexpected twist. The footage shows a large trash bag suddenly starting to move. What's more, every so often, a man peeks out from inside it and tries to throw a cardboard box at passers-by. Yet everyone seems to deliberately avoid this spot. Eventually, tired of waiting, the prankster went off in search of people himself for his video. After seeing two young people robbing a supermarket, the woman filming didn't rush to call the police. Surprisingly enough, like real-life Bonnie and Clyde, the pair worked quickly but very unprofessionally. While the girl waited on her scooter ready to escape, her partner stood by in the park. Meanwhile, the person filming watched until she decided to play a prank herself. Driving closer, she told them that police were already on their way. Strangely enough, the guy ran off with stolen bags and seemed to forget about his partner. This guy decided to hold an open bus door with his foot and immediately regretted it. Within seconds, the door closed and the bus drove off, leaving him in an incredibly awkward situation. What's surprising is that instead of helping him, passengers laughed and filmed everything on camera. After several desperate attempts to free himself, he finally managed, but his shoe stayed trapped inside. Only then did an angry driver approach him. However, before opening the door again, he demanded an explanation. These guys never imagined that within minutes, there'd be a pool right in front of them. Still, they didn't order one and couldn't enjoy it for long. As soon as this new tank was placed on their lawn, everyone helped move it toward their hedge before flipping it over into their neighbor's yard. It turned out that delivering this purchase required passing through their property first. Luckily, many people gathered and happily assisted with moving it. As thanks for their help, everyone was invited to attend its grand opening party. At first glance, it may seem strange that this family isn't rushing to save the car sliding into the river. However, as soon as it plunges into the water, no one even thinks about going after it. What's going on here? In fact, there was a driver behind the wheel the whole time. It's unbelievable, but only he dared to cross the river by car. And his companions, let's be honest, aren't to be envied because they'll have to find another way to get to the other side. Pranksters decided to test the reactions of people dining in a restaurant, and here's what happened. Of course, they first assigned roles, one as the cameraman, the other as the actor, and only then started the experiment. Just look how casually the main character walks past the guests and then falls to the floor, spilling popcorn everywhere. It's incredible. People not only helped him up, but also made sure he was okay. Yep, the experiment sure paid off. These people were crossing a bridge when something no one expected happened. Sadly, a powerful current literally ripped the old wooden bridge out from under their feet. As a result, one of the men jumped into the water. Hard to believe, but others followed, not to save him. It turned out they wanted to catch and hold on to the wood the water swept away. What's shocking though is that even when the China Bridge fully collapsed, the brave ones didn't think about giving up. Still, they couldn't rebuild the structure. This romantic picnic didn't end as planned. Just as the couple settled on their blanket, a man on a lawnmower appeared on the horizon, and instead of just passing by, he started circling them, ignoring their pleas to leave. But suddenly, the driver turned around, grabbed their bottle of wine, and only then disappeared. The weirdest part, no one even tried to stop him. A crowd gathered on the shore, eager to know why this woman waded into the cold water, and when everyone learned the real reason, they were stunned by her actions. Despite the ice, she rolled up her pants and marched toward wild birds. Then she bent down and pulled a tiny puppy out of the water. It turned out it had been walking on the frozen lake and fell through the ice. Meanwhile, a man on the shore was ready to lend a hand. What if supermarkets have a bag limit? The video's creator decided to test this, and the result will definitely shock you. Even though the shopper only took a few items, he asked the cashier to put them in an extra bag, then another. When he insisted on a fourth, the store worker flat out refused and handed over the purchase. Get this, the shopper stressed he wouldn't pay until he got that fourth bag. Only then did the cashier agree, but with one condition: he'd add the shopper to the blacklist. Do you have a friend like this? Driving past some construction workers, the driver decided to cheer them up, but as soon as he stopped, one of them hurled sand at the car. Despite attempts to get away, the prankster wouldn't let up. Just look, he ran after them, still dirtying the interior. When the worker saw the guys weren't rushing off, he seized the moment. Amazingly, he swung water at them, refreshing not just the car, but the passengers too. And the second the guy started refilling his bucket, they floored it. Hearing a scream, the video's creator ran to her boyfriend's room, where he was freaked out and didn't know what to do. Turns out, a lizard they'd brought back from vacation was lurking under his bed, and as soon as they touched the little guest, it darted into a backpack pocket. Catching it was tougher than expected. This'll shock you. When they finally grabbed it by the tail, it broke off and stayed in their hands. Meanwhile, the reptile hid even deeper. They eventually caught it, but before letting it go, they snapped a photo for keeps. Imagine suddenly becoming part of your friend's wedding ceremony. Incredibly, the organizers of this celebration decided to tweak one tradition. So, they hid the wedding rings under random guests' chairs. When it came time to present them, everyone was asked to check under their seats. Oddly enough, they all started searching, and soon enough, two lucky ones got the honor of handing the newlyweds the ring boxes. He tried to warn her, but she didn't hear. A snake slithered onto the water slide right as vacationers were riding it down, and the moment the operator spotted it, he tried to stop the slide, but it was too late. So, he decided to film the encounter instead. Check it out. The woman zooming down the slide had just one option: deal with it. She splashed into the pool with the startled snake. Others followed, and by then, the snake was long gone. This security guard wasn't in a hurry to open the doors, since there was still time before the store opened. Interestingly, for the same reason, he hadn't gotten dressed yet. Meanwhile, shoppers were waiting for the opening, and even despite their request to be let in early, the staff decided to stick to the schedule. Suddenly, someone from the crowd opened the doors themselves, and then people literally burst inside. It's shocking, but this became a signal for the rest, who started storming the other entrances. Of course, the security guard tried to hold back the onslaught, but to no avail. On top of that, the poor guy was constantly being knocked off his feet. A guy took his girlfriend to the market to update her wardrobe, and there, they were handed a huge bag for their purchases. Then, after taking off their shoes, the couple climbed the biggest mountain. As you probably already guessed, it's a store with consignment goods. But despite the endless piles of clothes that stretch from room to room, the couple was still able to find something they liked. It turned out that they were far from the only ones at this market. Would you like to visit there? So, did this truck reach its destination? Strangely enough, the driver behind it was pretty scared by what he saw, and after the turn, he honked at the overloaded vehicle. It's really shocking that its owner, despite the danger, ignored the warning. However, driving along the same road later, the man saw local residents unloading bags from the familiar truck. On the one hand, it reached its destination, but on the other hand, it still flipped over. It's hard to believe, but without waiting for the firefighters, concerned citizens rushed to extinguish a local restaurant. Take a look for yourself. They planned to make a hole in the ventilation duct that caught fire and pull a fire extinguisher through it. First, a sledgehammer was used, and then what was left of it, and no matter how it looked, the hole was made. But were they doing the right thing? Because even then, they couldn't manage to tame the flames. On the contrary, it only got worse. Interestingly, the cause of the fire was grease accumulated in the pipes. After being admitted to the hospital, the video's author wanted to light a cigarette, so he asked to go outside. But the medical staff refused, explaining that patients with IV drips are forbidden to leave the premises due to certain rules. Despite everything, the man still got into the elevator and was ready to escape. Imagine, he began to demand the right to at least a 5-minute walk.
Just take it the f out and let me go!
Of course, his shouts gathered the staff, as well as patients who wanted to use the elevator. So how did it all end? Eventually, the tired nurses gave up and removed the IV drip.
Sorry, but I need a break.
It's okay. These people were relaxing when suddenly the owner of the house ran to hide. Interestingly, his relatives hurried after him, although not all of them understood what they were running from. And just a minute later, a group appeared on the horizon, strolling leisurely while looking into every yard. One couple stopped and, despite the dog's barking, stood for a long time hoping to talk to the residents. As strange as it may seem, it later became known that these were Jehovah's Witnesses who wanted